When I was in 5th grade, I loved baseball. I loved to play baseball. I loved to talk about baseball. I loved to collect baseball cards. My 5th grade year was all about baseball. I just was always talking about baseball. And so when in 5th grade, my teacher gave us an assignment to write a nonfiction report, what do you think I wrote about? Baseball. Of course, I wrote about baseball. And she said, there's one caveat to this assignment, and that is that you need a source. Well, I had baseball cards. I had my own knowledge. I had my coach maybe I could interview. She said, no, it has to be a printed source. It has to actually be something that was published. And at that time, I knew as a 5th grader, there's one place to go to get printed sources, and that was the library. And so I scheduled time to go to the library. After school, I went there, and I looked for the World Book Encyclopedia. Do you remember the World Book Encyclopedia? Yes. And so I remembered where it was, and I remember walking through the library towards the back, right on the bottom shelf, to grab what volume? Volume B. So I reached down for volume B, and it was missing. And so I wrote my report about geckos. See, I needed a mission. I was really passionate about baseball, and I could have found information, but at that time, information was scarce. And it was just an assignment. It wasn't important enough for me to take the time to actually drive to a bookstore or maybe another library. Fast forward a few years later, and I had moved on from baseball. And at this point, I was passionate about skateboarding. I wanted to be a professional skateboarder. I wanted to be in Trans World Skateboarding magazine. I got it every month. And that was my dream. But unfortunately, I was a 9th grade kid living in Kleefeld, Manitoba, Canada. Not a hotbed for skateboarding. In fact, there's snow on the ground almost 50% of the year. And the town I was in, there was really only one area in the entire town where you could skateboard because they had concrete, and that was in front of the fire station. And I would get in trouble a lot because I wasn't supposed to skateboard there. So I was disconnected. I didn't have a community. I couldn't learn the new trick until the magazine came out. I didn't have anybody else who was saying, this is how you do the new trick. I really needed a mentor. So fast forward to today. Today, I have a new goal. And maybe that's just something about me. I'm always setting goals and just getting excited about some new venture. And I work mostly in an office. I have 2 little kids, and I don't really get out a lot because of the 2 little kids. And so I needed something that I could really set as a goal, some mission, something bigger than me. And I found the community of runners. First, I started with a 5K, and then I did my first marathon last year, and then I found this community. I wasn't disconnected anymore. I found a group of triathletes. These people are crazy. I went to my first triathlon last summer, and I discovered you have to have a certain kind of shoe, certain kind of goo that you can eat as you're running. For bikes, you had a certain kind of helmet with a pointy helmet. I don't know if you've seen that before, but it looks really weird. Even had special wheels for your bike. I couldn't just go and get a regular bike. I had to have a special bike. There was a gap that I needed to close because I realized these people are really serious about this. So I had my mission. I wanted to complete a triathlon. I had a mentor helping me do that, but I wasn't a triathlete. I needed to shift my mindset from wanting to complete a triathlon to becoming a triathlete. But that's not the conversation I want to have with you today. That's not the story I want to share with you today, because when I was 18 years old, I was in that car. And here's what it did to my hip. 26 breaks, 5 bolts, 2 screws, 11 days in the hospital. I literally had to learn to walk again. It took 3 months. And a lifetime of physical therapy. So for me, doing a triathlon is my impossible. They literally told me I would never walk again. So to do the marathon, to swim, it sounds crazy. I have no business swimming 1.2 miles. I have no business biking 56 miles, and I certainly, after all that, have no business running 13.2 miles. This is my impossible. So what is your impossible? Maybe you're a teacher and you have a dream of a perfect school, this dream that you've been talking about, maybe just to a select group of people, but you haven't taken action on it. Maybe you haven't quite defined that mission. Or maybe you work for a large university and you really want to be a musician. What's stopping you? Maybe it's that you don't have a mentor, somebody to encourage you along the way. Or maybe it's something that you don't even want to share, that in the quietness of your own heart, you know what that thing is, but you don't even want to write it down. Maybe you need a mindset. So I've developed this framework, and it's really worked for me and others that I've shared it with. You need a mission to pursue, a mentor to guide you, and a mindset to see you through. A mission to pursue, a mentor to guide you, and a mindset to see you through. See, we live in a world where information is accessible. So you can set a mission, something that's fear-inducing and crystal clear. You can access mentors. And this is interesting because I actually run a school called the Mentorship Academy, so I thought I knew what a mentor was. And when I Googled it with my phone, I was surprised at what it said. It actually said an advisor. See, I was expecting a Mr. Miyagi. Maybe his picture pops up. Or somebody who's 70 years old and has been in the industry forever and knows everything there is to know, the sage, the guru that you can go to. But actually, Google told me it's just an advisor, maybe a friend, maybe a colleague, maybe somebody who has the same goal as you do. And actually, you know, with technology, I used my phone and I actually talked to Siri. I said, Siri, define mentor. And it thought I said mender, which actually really works because when you think about it, a mender is someone who helps to take the broken pieces and put them together. And I think for a lot of us, that's what our dreams are. Things that we've started an entrepreneurial venture that didn't quite work out, and now we're scarred and we don't want to do it anymore. To have somebody who's an advisor who can say, you know what, that was a good try. I really like that, because failure is feedback. You know what, you can try that again, but what about if you shifted this or changed this or had a community to give you some ideas about how to do it better? And third, you need a mindset, an insatiable hunger, an unstoppable will. So it might not be a car accident for you. It might be where you're located. It might be the boss that you have. It might be the job you currently have. It might be the technology that you don't have access to. Whatever that is, how can you develop a mindset to get through, to get over, to pursue? Because now we live in a world where information is accessible, where we are all connected, and where we can bridge the gap. It's amazing to hear about the technology coming out these days. Think about it. To write a nonfiction report on the history of baseball sounds ridiculous now because you can just look it up on your phone in just a few seconds. Now there are communities of people where you can relate to and you can set missions together and you can get those mentors. I think we all feel like we're unique. We all feel like we're special. We feel like we're 1 in a million. But if you do the math, if you're 1 in a million and there's 7 billion people in the world, that means there are 7,000 of you. And that's not a knock. That's to say that there are other people that are passionate about the same thing you're passionate about. And now you can access them. So the little 9th grader wanting to be a skateboarder in Canada is now possible because he has a community on YouTube where he can share his tricks and see what other people are doing. It's now possible to be a baseball player. It's now possible to be an author. It's now possible to engage a community that is connected. And so now, in this world, it is not only possible, but absolutely reasonable and rational to dream bigger, to take action, and to move forward. The security of the 30-year job and the pension, we see that it is going away. Risky is the new safe. Focusing on your 1%, the one thing that makes you special, that makes you unique, and connecting with an audience online is the future. Because I believe that we are created with this dream, this thing we are supposed to do, this idea we are supposed to share, that we are the linchpin in our own community, and then if we don't speak up, who will? And now you can, because of technology, because of the connection that we have. So what about you? Where are you? What is your dream that you're maybe a little afraid to say? How can you define it? How can you define what that mission to pursue is? Put a deadline on it. Maybe you need a mentor, somebody to guide you, a trusted advisor. Share it with your friend. And maybe you're already a little advanced. You already have your idea. You've clearly defined your mission. You have some advisors, some mentors, some people to help you along the way. But you hit a wall. In running, you hit a wall and you keep going. That's the mindset you need to develop. And so to have this mindset of learner persistence, of continuing through that, what Seth Godin calls the dip, because failure is feedback, and to move forward is the only way that you're going to be successful today. So my challenge to you today is, will you do your impossible? Thank you.